Ladies and gentlemen, some way, somehow, we are wrapping up 2025. This year feels like it absolutely flew by. And we know we got the Nintendo Switch 2 about halfway through the year, and it's very exciting. But even though we got some amazing Switch 2 games, we also got some amazing Switch games. So in this video, I'm going to go over the top 20 Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 games that were released in 2025. And this list, man, is just incredible. So let's go ahead and get right into this video. So obviously the big thing is the Nintendo Switch 2, right? This console's amazing. I play it daily. I love it dearly. But I was looking through some of my own games. I actually have them right here. And I was looking through the games that actually released this year, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe this released this year. And I forgot that released this year. And too many games, truly too many games. This year was stacked. So we're going to go over the top 20 Switch and Switch 2 games. It's some pretty cool stuff in there. So before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, that would truly mean the world to me. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep our communities growing. And let's go ahead and get into this list. So when I first started making this list, I was going from like most recent release and going backwards into January. And then somewhere I just got mixed up, and about halfway through it gets all out of order. But just know these games are amazing. So we're going to start with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Yeah, this game is out. That sounds crazy to say, but Metroid Prime 4 is finally out. It's been quite a while since we talked about this. I think it was first shown off in 2017. Basically developed twice, starting with Bandai Namco and then going over to Retro Studios. And the game is out. It's looking amazing, it's running amazing, it's playing amazing. The game is amazing. It's not the longest game. I want to say about 16 hours, somewhere around there. There is a few shortcomings like the companionship stuff and then that open world desert area. But when you're actually playing the game and looking at the environments and everything else, I think we're definitely going to look back on this one fondly. We also got Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment this year, and I don't know if anybody was expecting this game, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's just like, really? Like when they showed this off in the Direct, that's pretty cool. And if I had to guess, this is probably going to, at least actually I hope, wrap up the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom universe, right? I love both of those games dearly. They're some of my favorite games of all time. I'm actually playing Tears of the Kingdom for the second time, like the Switch 2 edition. I'm like 70 hours in, finding stuff I never found before, and I'm loving every second, but I still just want to move on to whatever's next. So Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment takes you into Tears of the Kingdom. So it's basically like a prequel, like we have Breath of the Wild, then this, and Tears of the Kingdom. So hopefully this will be the end of this whole timeline. But as far as Warriors games go, this one is not bad. Another game that feels like it came out of nowhere that we did not expect is Kirby Air Riders. Do you see the first three games we talked about so far? This year was absolutely amazing for Nintendo. The Switch 2 has really hit its stride already in the first 6 months. I can't imagine 5 years in. This is awesome. You know, Sakurai is probably one of Nintendo's last great developers who are still there. Not saying they don't have amazing developers, but he's one of the OGs, and he's still making fantastic games. What's really cool is I think his wife actually makes like all the menu systems and the UI and stuff for these games. At least I think I read that right. So that just makes it even more charming to me. But I really enjoyed the GameCube version, but I just thought, how can they go above and beyond and make it better? In some way, somehow, they did just that. So as a lifelong Pokemon fan who's been playing for over 25 years, Pokemon Legens ZA is actually one of my favorite Pokemon games I played in a very long time. And up until release, I just really didn't care that much. Like, I knew as a Pokemon fan, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to play it, I'm probably going to enjoy it, and then I'm going to move on. But I could not stop playing it. Yes, the whole game takes place in one city, but that's really the only negative thing I can find about this game. The battling was some of the best. The story was pretty interesting. I really enjoyed the characters. On the Switch 2, believe it or not, I actually found a couple scenes that looked good. That's right, a Pokemon game looking good in 2025? What the hell is going on here? It's really fun though, you know? And some people were saying this is a spinoff, and technically it is, but I think Pokemon even put on their website recently that they consider this a mainline game, and it felt like a mainline game. So I'm very curious to see what they'll do in the future, but this one was a lot of fun. We also got a Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 bundle, and it is incredible. It is better than it's ever been. And here's a crazy thing. Nintendo just said, here is this bundle, right? But it's essentially the remastered versions of these games. There's even mouse controls on the Switch 2 version whenever you play multiplayer. They did new textures. They did a lot of stuff. I think it's 60 frames per second. It looks and sounds amazing. And Mario Galaxy is one of those games, every time you play it, it feels better than the first time you've played it. And the music is probably the best out of almost any game ever. I really enjoyed my time with it, but it was like the third time I beat Galaxy, but I've never beat Galaxy 2 some way, somehow. So I'm actually currently playing through that one as well right now. But what an amazing collection of two fantastic games. So we also got Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles. I'm actually not sure if this is a remaster or remake, because sometimes it just looks like a remaster, but then other times it looks kind of like a remake. I'm going to lean more on it being a remaster, and it probably is. But Final Fantasy Tactics is a fantastic Final Fantasy game. A little different because it's more of a strategy RPG, so not that just regular turn-based RPG, and maybe you don't care about games like that or can't get into them. This is a great starting point. And this game has amazing voice acting, amazing characters, amazing storylines, amazing gameplay. You would really do yourself a service if you were to check this one out. So how could we make this list without talking about Donkey Kong Bananza? This game came out in July and I still find myself saying randomly in my head all the time, oh, banana. And yeah, like every time I go buy bananas, I say that in my head every single time. A lot of people thought, what are we doing here? You know, no new Mario game, no new Zelda game at the launch of a brand new system. And then we learned about this, and some people thought maybe that's not the right choice, even though the Super Mario Odyssey team worked on this. But I think it was a fantastic choice. I think this is a top 5 Nintendo game of all time. From start to finish, you will have a smile on your face. The entire game, it felt like there was no filler. Everything was meant to be how it was. I really enjoyed Pauline and Donkey Kong's relationship. I really enjoyed the music. I think it looks beautiful, and it's just a good-hearted, like, feel-good game. You know what I mean? It's not going to make you sad. It's not going to have any mysteries. It just sets out to be a game that everybody can enjoy, and they did just that. So forget what I just said. I just said the Switch 2 didn't launch with a new Zelda game or Mario game. I meant like traditional 3D Mario game or even a 2D Mario game. Obviously, the Switch 2 launched with Mario Kart World. And I did enjoy it. I think it is great. I think it has a very bright future, but there were some things that I thought were questionable. Just in the past 2 or 3 days, Mario Kart World got a brand new update, and if the game would have launched with this update, I think it would have been more well received. I just think this new update is one of the best updates Nintendo's done just out of nowhere, and it really makes the game feel like it has potential now. I think Nintendo came out and said that they're only going to use Mario characters for Mario Kart World and not Nintendo characters. I'm still kind of confused about that because one of the great things about Mario Kart World is the collection of all the Nintendo IPs. So hopefully, you know, in the future they'll do some other kind of DLC or something. But there's just so many things they can do with this one. And I will say this, the knockout mode is so damn good and one of the coolest things Nintendo has ever done. So we also got some amazing indie games showing up on Nintendo platforms this year. Hades 2 is one of the most recent ones, but arguably one of the best games we have on the Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 now. The first Hades game kind of took me and a bunch of other people by surprise because you're thinking, well, it's a roguelike and I'm not really sure if I even like games like that. But quickly it became pretty much one of the most popular games of all time. So again, you think, well, how can they improve on that? How could they make that better? Again, with Hades 2, they did just that. And being able to play this portably on the Switch and Switch 2, it feels right at home. Speaking of little indie games you know that you might have heard of, we also got Hollow Knight Silksong this year. That sounds crazy. We got Metroid Prime 4 and Hollow Knight Silksong in the same year, 2 games that felt like they were never going to come out. And again, Hollow Knight Silksong is a damn masterpiece. Sometimes in videos, I'll say that and then people in the comments will be like, man, you use masterpiece a lot. That's because I like to talk about games that are masterpieces. It's better than the original in every single way. Like gameplay, the atmosphere, the music, the sound effects, the character, the battling, the NPCs, just everything. But boy, is it harder. Oh my god, this game is difficult. It is challenging. I beat the original Hollow Knight twice. I still have not beat this game, but I'm not going to give up, right? It's something I'm going to eventually beat, but man, it feels amazing to play this on my Switch too. One of my favorite games of all time made an appearance on the Switch too. and that is Cyberpunk 2077. I've said it before, but I beat this game on the PS5 with the DLC, and it was almost life-changing, you know what I mean? I knew nothing about the game, played it, and it's in my top 3 of all time. Playing this handheld, on the go, on my Switch 2, it's honestly one of my favorite gaming experiences of all time now. I beat the base game, I'm almost done with the DLC, and I still have a million other things to do, and the game, some way, somehow, looks amazing. And, you know, I'm not going to get into the whole key card thing right now in this video, but the fact that the full game is actually on the cartridge with the DLC, CD Projekt Red did an amazing job. This is truly the definition of peak gaming. This year had so many amazing releases that you might have forgot that we also got Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition all the way back in April on the Switch. Originally, this was a Wii U game, and honestly probably one of the most ambitious Wii U games, like that and Breath of the Wild were technically Wii U games, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But the fact that they brought this over on the Switch, and I believe it's remastered, right? I think that's what the definitive edition is, with some new in-game stuff and just quality of life stuff. Even though it was technically a Wii U game, it quickly became one of the best Switch games of all time. This is a game you can spend like 150 hours in easy, and that time will fly by. One thing we are all hoping for currently is a Switch 2 upgrade or Switch 2 edition or Switch 2 something, because, you know, it would only make the game that much better. But even if that never happens, this one is still a treat to play. Another really cool game we got this year is Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. If I'm not mistaken, this game came out in May, so it was like that transitional period going into the Switch 2. So some people didn't pick it up then because they were saving money for the Switch 2. And then once the Switch 2 came out, some people were like, well, you know, that was a Switch game, so I'm going to skip it. This game looks and runs amazing on the Switch 2. And I hate comparing it to other games, but, you know, it's just easier for me to be able to recommend it. But it feels like 2D Zelda mixed with Animal Crossing, mixed with Stardew Valley, mixed with, you know, some other stuff. And it has a bunch of little things going on, so you never really feel bored, you know. It never really feels like it's getting too repetitive because you can just go find something else to do. And unfortunately, like I said, I feel like it got overshadowed with the Switch 2's release. But let me tell you, it is 100% worth picking up and playing through. So another great game we got on the Switch 2 is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, you know, sometimes when a new console will come out, what will happen is you'll get ports of older games that were on other systems, maybe a couple years old, that your older console couldn't play, but your new one could. Assassin's Creed Shadows came out this year in March, and we got this on the Switch 2 the same exact year. I don't know what Ubisoft did on the Switch 2, and we'll talk about another game in a moment, but they are doing fantastic work on the Switch 2. Some of the best optimized ports on the Switch 2. I enjoy Ubisoft games and Assassin's Creed, so all this stuff feels right at home for me, but maybe you think, well, it's Assassin's Creed or it's Ubisoft, so I'll probably skip over this one. That might be a big mistake this generation. So an amazing game we got day one on the Switch 2 that only costs $15 is Fast Fusion. This is a sequel to Fast RMX, which was a sequel to Fast something else, I think, on the Wii U or some other racing game. This game is incredible, and unfortunately, if you didn't get your Switch 2 in like that first month, maybe, you know, you have all these other options now, and you haven't picked this game up. Look, I'm here to tell you, man, even though we've got all these amazing games and we'll continue to get amazing games, this is one of the best racing games I've ever played. It has a really cool gimmick, I guess, where you can fuse two cars together and just make new cars with better stats, and the gameplay is great, the courses look beautiful, and it is a steal at only $15. Another great game the Switch 2 launched with is Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. So we got Yakuza Kiwami on the Switch. That was the first Yakuza game on the Switch, and actually the only one, but that came at the tail end of the Switch's life. I think that might have came the end of 2024, so it was kind of warning us that more Yakuza games were going to be on the way, at least for the Switch 2, and they launched the Switch 2 with a great one. Yakuza 0 is a prequel to Kiwami, so it's technically like the best place to start. It has some of the best characters, and the port on the Switch 2 is fantastic. Now we have remasters of Kiwami 1 and 2, we have Kiwami 3 coming up, and I'm sure a million other Yakuza games on the way. So if you want to jump into the series, this is the perfect spot. This year was absolutely amazing because we also got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 remakes on the Switch and Switch 2. At least I think it came out on the Switch as well. Obviously, I picked this up on the Switch 2, or better yet, the Tony Hawk team reached out to me and asked if I want to review it on the Switch 2. And of course I said, hell yeah. I've been skating my entire life. I've played every skateboarding game under the sun, and these are fantastic. The only thing that I could say that's negative about them is some of the original soundtrack has been switched out due to licensing problems, which, you know, it's fair that they had to do that, but the levels look beautiful. It's still so fun to play and find all the little secrets and do all the challenges, and this is something I still play at least once a week. Some of my personal favorite games that released this year were Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remasters. I never played these back in the day, but I'm a huge JRPG fan, so I knew eventually I would get around to replaying them. But once these were released in March, I said, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna check those out. But for some reason I didn't pick them up until the Switch 2 came out, and it turns out that was a good thing to do. Not saying they were bad on the Switch, but on the Switch 2, I mean, it's just bringing the retro to modern times in like a perfect mashup. These games are masterpieces, or known as some of the best, for great reason. I actually had not played through Suikoden 2 yet, and I know that's the better one, but I loved every second of Suikoden, and it's one of my favorite memories on the Switch 2 so far. So much, when I made my top 10 Switch 2 games list so far, like my favorite games, I had to add this to that list. So like I previously mentioned, Ubisoft did amazing so far on the Switch 2, because we also got Star Wars Outlaws, and this is a game I was bad-mouthing. This is a game I said, hey, you're a dummy if you buy this on the Switch 2, don't do it, it's not going to be great. And I'm very happy that I was wrong, because it's a toss-up, you know, between this and Cyberpunk as the best ports on the Switch 2. It's so well optimized that it doesn't make sense why some other games like don't run good when we have games that are this massive running amazing, that you can take this big space open world adventure portably on the go. That sounds crazy, but it works. It just works, you know what I mean? So Ubisoft did an amazing job on this and Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I cannot wait to see what else they're going to pull off in the future. And I'm going to end this list with Split Fiction. There was a few other games I thought about putting in, but the fact that this is a brand new game that came out in 2025 and that it made its way over to the Switch 2, and the quality of it on the Switch 2, it's just so damn impressive. Yes, these games have to be played multiplayer, but I think that adds to the charm, especially, you know, when you think about the Switch and the Switch 2 now. In essence, they're almost like aimed for multiplayer. This is made by the same people who made It Takes Two, and I think it's called like A Way Out, the prison game or whatever. But some way, somehow, they just keep making games better and better. And this game is so good, and it's not just me saying that this is one of like the 5 or 6 games nominated for Game of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, this year has been fantastic for Nintendo. It feels like the Switch never really lost its stride up until the Switch 2 came out, and a lot of the great games that came out on the Switch 2 also came out on the Switch. So it's just been a fantastic year for Nintendo. This was a list of the top 20, even though a bunch of these games were like bundles, so it's really probably like top 25 or something. But I could have probably made a top 40 or 50 list. Easy. That's how stacked this year has been. So in the comments below, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your favorite games that came out this year on the Switch or Switch 2. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, if you could do me a favor, hit a like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. We have a really cool community that we're building. And if you enjoy this kind of stuff, you should stick around. And you guys know me. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace out.